Hello, friends, and welcome back to r/ProRevenge. And today we have another set of brand new crazy revenge stories for you. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, leave comments so we know what kind of stories you love the most. The Wrath of the Stoner Art Student. As the title says, I'm an art student. I live with my parents while I'm in college to cut living expenses. A couple of years ago, my dad had a security system installed that came with a 2-camera setup. One pointed at the side door and driveway, one pointed at the street by the front door, so you can see the cars. It has an app we all installed on our phones that gives us alerts. I also have this shed I asked my parents if I could use for most of my art as it gets messy. I would always clean up after myself, but paint still stains the carpet, and if I had to smell that tangerine floor cleaner one more time, I was gonna barf. I fixed it up a bit. It still looks crappy, but it's mine. Took about 2 weeks to set up. We also have a problem of people going through cars. A lot. Like ridiculously so. I have a crap Ford Tempo that I never keep anything important in, so I don't care. The incident. As I said, I have an art shed and I'm a student of the visual communication program at my local college. My professor had given us our term assignment, which was basic but fun. Pick a piece that was in the textbook and either write a 10-page essay on it or do a recreation with a 2-page blurb of how you copied the techniques, yada yada yada. I was stoked because Van Gogh was covered in there and I wanted to do a piece called Cafe Terrace. It's a gorgeous piece. And I put a lot of time and effort into this thing. And smoked a lot while doing it. Haha. But one night my phone gives me an AM alert from the security system while I'm at a small party. Get together. And I see a blurry image of 3 teens running past my side door. I think it's odd, but I wasn't home to check it out immediately. When I get home from being driven by a friend from the party, I get back to see my car door ajar, and I roll my eyes because it's annoying but not new. Then I remember the alert on my phone and went to check around the house. Check the shed last, because there's a lock on it, it'll be fine, right? I live in Canada, who's gonna break into my shed? Ha 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 ha. When I get to my shed, it's trashed. Lock on the ground, the material I hung up over the ceiling was ripped and burned. All the works of art I put on the walls were ripped down, my paint was everywhere, and my pastels were stomped on. They even broke my effing little crappy stool I nicknamed Hermit. But the worst was that my term project was destroyed, cut apart, then repeatedly smashed. 2 weeks before I had to turn that effing project in. I was livid. The revenge. I was able to get a week's extension as I emailed my professor and sent him photos, including the security alert, and contacted the police about the destruction of property. Cleanup was a couple of days. I did manage to turn my project in on time without the extension, just by not going to sleep. First one was better, but hey. I was still PO'd though. I kept thinking on ways to catch them or lure them in to scare the crap out of them, so I left change, loonies and toonies, stuff they'd go for, and 5s in my car's console, left my doors unlocked, and at the front of the house. I turned on that camera as it had been off for a while because it would go off so much, and I kept a bat in the shed at the side door. No guarantees that it'd be the same idiots, but I kept hoping. A few people picked my car, but it wasn't those turds, so I waved it off. A month later, and a few days after my final exams, I was in the shed at 2 a.m. smoking and sketching when the alert goes off. It's the front camera, and I see 3 familiar-looking blurs ransacking my car. I grab the bat, and before I set out, I hear them coming towards my shed. I flick the string of lights off and let them get closer before I jump out with a bat in hand. One of them screams so loud before they book it, and I run after them to scare them away. I'm not a very good runner and fully expect them to outpace me. But one of them cut across my front lawn and slipped on the wet grass. He biffs it, and I catch up to him and grab him by the back of his hoodie with the bat, threatening him. Were you the ones who trashed my shed? I'm sorry, I won't do it again. What the F's your name? Matthew. His name was not Matthew. Give me your effing wallet. The dude throws it, and I let go of him to retrieve it, and he runs off. Whatever. I pocketed my 5 plus what I'm assuming was another $40 of stolen money, took a look at his wallet and his high school ID, and his real name was there. I Facebooked his mom and told her what happened and emailed the school as well, mentioning I was a previous student there and was devastated that this is how the school teaches children. Haha. The mom turned up at my door with another mom and an older dude and 3 turdlings. They had to apologize to me in person. Wasn't that nice? I also think my professor gave me a few more points than I deserved on the piece I submitted because of what happened. Bless your soul, Clint. The painting was crap, but you still gave me an 82 out of 100 anyway. And our next story. Switch purchase, switch jobs. Back in 1983, my high school library was a bit of a joke. It seems we never had more than 2 copies of any book the county put on its required list. What this meant was that everyone was frantically trying to get the same books to complete papers with. Before I could drive, this meant getting my poor mom to drive me to every library in the area. One day, our library started asking for volunteers to do a fundraiser to get more materials, and namely, more copies of the required books. Some of us jumped on board and sold everything from donuts to coupons. We would hold bake sales, car washes, etc. We were elated at the end of the drive when we had far exceeded our goals. We were all promised that we would have our dreams realized over the summer. The school year starts up, and we're giddy to see the new books. Imagine our dismay when we get to the library and find that most of the books are gone. Bare shelves glared at us while we went along the rows. That's when we noticed the holy grail of the library was missing, the card catalog file. In its place, 2 computer terminals. Mind you, not computers. We went to the front desk and asked the librarian what was going on. She said they'd decided to get a fancy computer system to make her job easier and cut down on theft. We were stunned because we didn't have a theft problem. Certainly some books would get lost or damaged, but not very many. The books were mostly missing because they'd been sent to a company to have security embedded in them. The worst part is the librarian overspent and therefore, you guessed it, was not able to purchase more books. We felt the shame of being used, lied to, and screwed over. It was at this point that we knew revenge was in order. It took myself and a couple of my fellow computer nerds 15 minutes to figure out what they'd done to the books. The security tag was a RF, like at a store, and the card pocket of the book. The new cards themselves had metal foil in their center. Without this foil, the tag would receive energy from the newly installed gates at the library door and set off an alarm. I decided to test our knowledge. I grabbed a reference book, threw a gum wrapper in the pocket, shoved it in my bag, and hit the door. I passed out the door without a peep from the gates. After that day, we threw our plan into action. We would steal as many books as we could and hide them in any location we could find. At first, we used storage rooms by boxing them up and soon ran out of space. We then started using empty lockers and even putting them in the ceiling on top of divider walls. By the end of the year, the librarian was getting frantic. She could not balance her inventory with the new computer system, and she was being called out on it thanks to our many complaints. Another genius move was to have the boxes labeled as other textbooks and sent to the warehouse over the summer. This was easy to do since we were the volunteers that wrote the program to do it, and we would print the labels. The librarian ended up losing her job and being investigated for fraud since there seemed to be some missing funds as well. Over the summer, the county finally spent the money to fill our book requests due to the uproar. It was not until a week before the start of school that they started discovering library books in the extra boxes several teachers received. This was just the beginning of us getting our revenge on some of the teachers. In the end, we got our revenge and the original items we worked so hard to get. Justice against corruption and stupidity. It's my favorite kind of revenge. And our last story. Business owner tries to bully neighbor, ends up losing his livelihood. My friend inherited his parents' house a few years back, and he's slowly been renovating it. The house is nothing special and is not in the best area, but it's his. No bank, no mortgage. It also happens to be next door to a restaurant. The restaurant had been a neighborhood fixture for decades, but has slowly declined with the neighborhood. Cue the old owners walking away and selling it to a real sleazeball. New owner wants to buy my friend's house to demo it so he can expand the restaurant's parking lot. Instead of offering a fair price, sleazeball tries to lowball my friend, assuming he doesn't know the property's potential value. Sleazeball gets offended when my friend counters with fair market value and begins to bully him with passive-aggressive crap, delivery trucks blocking a sidewalk, new super bright security lights that shine into the house, etc. On top of that, Sleazeball is openly racist and refers to my friends as all sorts of epithets. Sleazeball even tries to turn the neighbors against my friend by telling him that he's a drunk, has anger issues, etc. All the while, Sleazeball is doing major renovations and expansions to his restaurant. The revenge. My friend does contracting work for the city and is on a first-name basis with the local boards. Turns out Sleazeball didn't file for the proper permits. After an anonymous report to the inspectors, he's ordered to demolish the new expansion. You think that'd be it? But no. The restaurant hasn't been properly inspected for years, and the city orders further inspections. Another anonymous report stated that the restaurant was unsanitary. No surprise. It fails the health and safety inspection and is condemned as structurally deficient. Between the fines, repair costs, and loss of business, the owner files for bankruptcy, and the old restaurant is demolished. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video to the end, and I'll see you in the next one.